Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Living in Truth. I'm Aaron Brooks, and I'm glad to have you here with us today. If it's your first time, welcome in. If it's not, welcome back. So, have you ever played Four on a Couch? I love that game. It's super fun. So, I've got a story in the Bible that's basically nothing like it, except for kind of. Hang out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's getting a little bit cold outside, so I figured, I might as well turn on the fire, sit there, chill, kind of get, happy, warm up a little bit. And so it reminded me of a story in the Bible. Have you ever heard of King Nebuchadnezzar? Bonus points if you can spell Nebuchadnezzar. If you can, put it in the comments below for me. And so King Nebuchadnezzar, he's out, and this dude, he may like himself just a little bit too much. Dude is kind of like, he's a little vain to the point where he had a statue made out of gold in his image. Okay, so not the first person to do that. However, this thing was 9 feet wide and 90 feet tall. This dude really was proud of himself. 90 foot tall, 9 foot wide gold statue about King Nebuchadnezzar. Well, he's got all these Chaldeans out running around, and he's like, all right, so if you guys are in range of the horns, if you hear it, you better bow down and you're going to worship this gigantic atrocity. And so the Chaldeans find Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they're Jewish folks, and they're living in Babylon, and they worship God. However, they're not going to worship this idol. Well, that makes the Chaldeans upset, and the king has already said, look, whoever doesn't worship this idol is going to get tossed in the fire. So King Nebuchadnezzar's got his decree out. The Chaldeans come and they find that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego aren't bowing down. So the king is ticked. They bring them in to the king, and he's talking to these guys, and he's like, look, you better do this. So let's go to the handy dandy Bible app. Let's find out what these dudes had to say about it. So the king told them they have to bow down immediately and worship this idol. So in verse 16, they answered by saying this. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve will be able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image you have set up. Bro, that is some for real walk it out faith right there. But he goes on, the king, that dude gets heated. I mean, imagine this guy who is vain enough to make a 90-foot tall statue, golden idol. And so he gets even more mad. He goes to his folks and is like, look, turn that furnace up 7 times hotter than what you normally would. And it was urgent. And so we're going to go to verse 22, back to the handy dandy Bible app. Because the king's order was urgent, the furnace overheated. The flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the fiery furnace. So these guys who brought the 3 boys up to the fire and tossed them in, This furnace was so out of control. He said 7 times. There's no telling what it really was because they said it overheated. So 7 times might have been the goal. It overheated to the point where the flame hopped out of the furnace and burnt up the dudes who were supposed to take Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fire. Well, now they're bound together and they fall down into the fire. Then what happens? Well, the king is sitting here, and we'll go to verse 29. Well, let's not do that just yet. They fall down in the fire. They are bound, and then suddenly the king is like, didn't we throw 3 dudes in the fire? People are like, yep, it was 3 dudes. King's like, I see 4. I see 4 dudes in the fire. And the 4th one, he looks like the Son of God. Well, not only does he see 4 dudes in the fire, he sees them not laying down but standing up, no longer bound, and walking around in the fire. Now, I don't know exactly what to make of that. Because, bro, I get tossed in the fire and my bonds break free and I ain't burned up, I'm hopping out the fire. Aren't you? Like, see ya, I'm out. Like, it didn't work. No. They're up walking around in the fire. All right. So they're walking around in the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then the king is like, hey, come out of that fire. So they do. They walk out of the fire, but they didn't do it on their own volition. They were thrown in there, and God met them in that place and protected them and kept them safe in the fire. And they stood right there where God was with them instead of getting out of the situation. Sometimes we did. Okay, we're going to stay on topic. We ain't going that way. And they walk out whenever the king calls them out. God protected them in the fiery furnace. And then we'll go back to the handy dandy Bible app. We're going to go down to verse 29. He calls them out of the fire. And at that moment, when they came out of the fire, the king said this, therefore I make a decree. Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb and their houses laid in ruins. For there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So these dudes who were Jewish, had no business being in Babylon, went from thrown into a fiery furnace to their demise, hopefully to be their end. And instead of that being the end of what ruined their life, it became the place that they were promoted from. You're worried about stuff that's outside of your control. And you're trying to appease people who have no place at the center of your heart. We got folks building statues of themselves. They might not be 90 foot tall, made out of gold, but they might be on the streets of New York, on a billboard, on the side of a building. There might be a following of folks begging for some votes, and we're worried about what they're going to say. But if God can change the heart of a man who was so vain to build a 90 foot tall, 9 foot wide statue in the matter of a moment, and know that there's no God like our God who can save the way that he just did. He just said there's no other God who can rescue in this way. See, the difference was there was a personal touch. God showed up right in the middle of the fire. He didn't come in and doesn't always just snatch you out of the fire. Sometimes he comes and stands right in the fire with you. right there by your side, providing exactly what you need. That doesn't make the fire less hot. That doesn't make the surroundings any less tenuous. That makes everything exactly what you need, because God knew exactly what they needed. Not one hair was singed, not one fiber on their clothes was singed. God provided exactly what they needed to keep them safe in that fire. Didn't pull them out of it. They had to stand in the fire till they were called out of the fire. But he stood there with them. And he'll stand there with you. So I hope this encourages you today. I hope this kind of opens up your mind. I had never heard that part about the furnace overheating. I had heard about the furnace being turned up 7 times hotter, but I'd never heard about the fact that it overheated. But the word of God told me it overheated. So that's more. But God was still exceedingly and abundantly above all that they could ask. He took care of them. Their faith showed up, and so did Jesus. Stood right there with them in the fire. Some of you guys are going through a fire right now. You're in a situation that you didn't recognize, that you didn't want to be in. But if God told you to act a certain way, you better continue to act that certain way, because we have the word of God to base what we do and base our actions on. If we walk that out, God will show up where we need it. Don't be worrying about what somebody else might say or what they might think. God's got your back. We love you very, very much. I hope we will see you again soon. So that's my version of 4 in a fire. It's a little bit different than 4 on a couch. But I know that whenever he got called out the name of the Son of God, when he knew it was Jesus, when King Nebuchadnezzar knew, then that's when that decree went out, and that changed everything. So until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, wonderful day whenever you're watching this, and we will see you. Now that is some good timing. You know what that means? Lunch is ready. Hello?
Hey, food's back.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat. And shout out to Charlotte, making me look pretty. See ya.